the thing about people like Francesca, the thing about people in like DSA,
Hmm.
our politics have evolved. Like
Yeah.
we have matured over the years instead of like these people who for 50 fucking years have been like communism's evil.
Yeah.
That it's bad. You better condemn. Like
Yeah.
and that just doesn't compute for a lot of people.
So David Crowley, right? Who dropped out briefly, right? Dropped out briefly, and then the woman he endorsed had some like financial scandal, so she had to drop
Yeah.
out, and then he re-entered the race, uh, and all of a sudden the entire establishment, Bernie 2020 style, just coalesced behind him. He got like I think he got like the nomination or the endorsement of the sitting governor, right? And there was like a bunch of other just shit, right? And so Francesca, who went into this primary, I think like the betting site odds were 95.5% in her favor, right?
Right.
Proof that you should not. Man, if man, I should have just emptied my bank account and placed a bet on fucking David Crowley 2 days ago. Man, I would be a rich man. But yeah, so he won. Francesca Hong immediately, you know, gave in, and much like Haley Stevens before her, immediately endorsed, and supported, which is, to her, to Haley Stevens' credit. And we're going to be talking, because I do want to do a full campaign autopsy on Francesca Hong right here. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to be mentioning the Abdul El Said victory a lot, right? They're very similar, right? Both of them were, visibly up in polls leading into it, right? Were heavily favored to be the winner, right? Were projected to be a landslide victories. Both of them ended up coming down to extremely tight races. I believe Abdul won his by 1%, right? And then some of the stuff I saw had Francesca at a 0.4% loss, like 3,000 votes separated her and David Crowley,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
So naturally, right? The same people who went online and said that, oh, Abdul's victory is not a victory. He barely won, right? He
All
barely
right.
won, right? Those same people are now turning around and writing articles, this crushing defeat for socialism and DSA, right? All of a sudden, you have those same people are now turning, in the same way that progressives are like, oh, the Abdul victory is a massive victory, right? And Francesca's loss is, not that whatever, right? And
Right.
you know,
Yeah, I
I,
mean, I think the thing to remember here is like, you know, it's not a win because we wanted her to win.
mm-hmm,
It's literally
disappointing
it's not the outcome we
for
wanted,
sure.
but
Yeah.
like it does say something that like same with Abdul, would have been nice to have a bigger win that really made a bigger statement, but
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty big statement that he won despite like being outspent 10-1, which has never happened.
Yeah, I think he
This
actually
is
got
the most.
outspent. He actually got outspent 11-1, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, and
I mean, insane, right?
yeah, and that it broke like every record for a Senate race in terms of spending, and all most of that came from APAC. And he still fucking won, and it's like that's
Mhm.
amazing. And then we can say with Fran, it's like look how close she got despite having no support. Like
Yeah,
he and Bernie Sanders didn't even endorse her, which
Bernie, AOC, a lot, no national support, right?
yeah, I don't
Um,
like they were saying like we're focused on Congress, we're not going to endorse in governor's races, and it's like, well,
which is bullshit. But we'll get to Bernie. We'll get to Bernie. Bernie is coming
yeah,
up, right? I do want to talk about Thanksgiving Gate. All right.
oh my
I think
Uh,
that I do think that I like Francesca as a candidate, right? But if you see the way, right? If you see the way, because Abdul has done a couple of these types of gotcha interviews, right? Where motherfuckers ask him about Hassan Piker,
oh
right?
my god.
When
Yep.
motherfuckers ask him about Israel, right? Or some random shit from his past, right? Or just something just vaguely Islamophobic, right? Because you have a Muslim name. I am going to be racist to you because that is socially okay, right? It is okay, it's just my democratic opponent is running attack ads calling me a terrorist, right? And it's kind of funny, right? Because Haley Stevens in her resignation speech, right, in her I lost speech, right, she's like, he's a father of daughters, he's a doctor, and I was like, holy shit, he's all those things. The only thing I knew about him was terrorist up until
Right.
now, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I knew about him based on what you said was 9/11, right? um
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And you see all these interviews of Abdul, like just backflipping, like doing Spider-Man moves on these motherfuckers, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like that reporter that came up on Abdul while he was just like walking somewhere, right? And the dude was like, Trump says you're full of shit. What do you think of that? And Abdul's like, at least I don't let mine go in the Oval Office, right? Like he just boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, just
Yeah.
turns all these moments into
Yeah.
campaign ads,
They're
right?
calling him Dark Mom Donnie.
Yeah, exactly. He
Like,
is. I literally said it, and actually in a group chat that I'm in, I literally said that, after somebody posted that clip in the group chat, I said he is Zoran's Wario, right? Zoran
yeah.
is the Mario. Abdul is the Wario, right? And you need both if it's going to be a proper party game. So,
Right.
uh, contrast all that, and I'm sure anybody watching, if you're even vaguely on like online, like watching politics, you've seen some dope ass Abdul clips, like the thing was like, women's like, oh, you never talk about this, and he's like, no, actually I do, you just don't report on it, you only report on fucking Israel, right? And just immediately boosh, right? Compare that to this, which I really do think that this was like, she was like, you know 30 seconds from the finish line and fucking tripped and broke her fucking ankle here. Like, I
Yeah, she's too
do think,
nice. She's too nice.
yeah, it's just because she tweeted a couple of years ago, right? Was it 2021, something like that, that we
Yeah.
should cancel Thanksgiving, which is stupid. And it's stupid. It's
Right.
a
Right.
stupid thing. It's like, I
Right. But like
understand.
a lot of people were talking like that back then,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, yeah,
but
and
like
it's just,
our
woke one is
politics have,
they're calling it, right? They're calling it woke
yeah.
one, right?
But the
Woke
thing
one
about
versus
people,
woke two. We're
yeah,
up,
yeah, which is I
you know?
love that. But like, yeah, the thing about people like Francesca, the thing about people in like DSA,
Hmm.
our politics have evolved. Like
Yeah,
we have matured over the years instead of like these people who for 50 fucking years have been like communism's evil.
yeah,
That it's bad. You better condemn. Like,
yeah.
and that just doesn't compute for a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, I think she fumbled this, but
She
yeah.
fumbled this. Now, I mean, it's just this right here. I saw some people try to say, "Oh, it was actually good," or "She did a good job." No, it's bad. It's bad, and I think that this was a major turning point. I think that anybody that was on the cusp, especially like, you got to understand, right? That like the big job that you have as a socialist is you need to reassure the normies. Okay.
Right, right.
Zoran is very good at that. Zoran has what he has like a 69% approval rating, like an insane approval rating for a mayor in New York City, like unheard of, right? It's just because he's a normie whisperer. He's like, yes, yes, yes. Remember how you felt during Obama? Oh yeah, remember, like I'm bringing that old school Obama feeling back, right? The fucking white person fucking dopamine extractor, right? That you install into the brain, right? But this was an extremely bad answer to a question. Let's just watch it.
You talked about your past positions that he keeps highlighting and, obviously likely would continue to do so before November should you win. One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef, and one of the
Right there, right? I'm a chef.
I'm a
That's the
chef.
first thing you say after that. It's like it
Yeah.
should be like, of course not. I was trying to make a point. They are just attacking me because they want to distract from the fact that they want to build a data center in your backyard. Right?
Right. Right.
If Zoran were in this position, right? Zoran would be like, listen, of course I don't believe that. Of course I don't believe that. My goal here is to focus on affordability, right? It's just funny that we're all talking about Thanksgiving when the average person in my constituency won't be able to afford Thanksgiving. Like there's so many moments. There's so many
Right.
like we have the blueprint now.
Yeah, and well, she doesn't even have to like disavow the point she was trying to make there.
first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7, 8 years that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think there I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
Francesca Hong, thank you for joining us. We hope to have you back on, depending on how things go next week in your primary.
No follow-up question from this woman. No follow-up. And you knew the moment that she ended the interview there, she was like, "Yeah, I got what I needed here." Just the I'm a chef is just. I hope she fired whoever wrote that for her. It's just
Yeah, I think that whole thing, like trying to do this fucking like, it's like Kamala Harris with like my babysitter was a small business owner or whatever the fuck
yeah.
bullshit she was talking.
It's
It's like,
it's
yeah,
fake. It's fake.
right, right. That's the thing. And it's like, just like you said, just say, no, of course, I don't think that. It is painful for some people, and I try to acknowledge that. But that doesn't mean that I want to shame everyone else for celebrating. But here we are talking about my tweets when again data
Yeah.
centers, but like
Exactly, right? Like David Crowley's going to build a fucking or Tony, what's the fucking what's the dude?
Evers.
Yeah, something like that, right? Tony Gilroy, not Gilroy, he's a cool dude. But fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like you just get back, and she just didn't have. And the problem is that I think that her demeanor is good for like when she was doing outreachy stuff in the community, right?
Yes.
Like I think her demeanor was really good for like local representative type people, right? But you are going for a position that is on the national stage. This became a national election once it was like, oh, once you started overperforming in the polls, right? This became a national election, and she very much clearly has some leveling up to do. And that moment where you get asked this super gotcha, pointless, dumb question that you should have, that Abdul in the same position would have been able to, backflip over, would have made it, would have fucking, break danced on her and made it look
Mhm.
fucking, schnasty, right? um, and instead she gives like the first 3 paragraphs of, one of those dumb family recipes that you find on Pinterest, right? Like it's, what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like it literally, it's like, I'm a chef and when I go home for the, holidays, and it was just such a bizarre response. And, I think that a lot of people who maybe were planning on voting for her, that, because I think that, yeah, ideally, right, in the perfect world, everybody's always voting in their interest, but that is not the world we live in.
right.
A lot of people, some people are, right? Some people, I mean, she still got 40%, almost 40% of the vote can vote, right? She still got within literally a half a percentage point. If she had done a half of a percentage point better, she would be the nominee, right? And she would be
Right.
going general, right? Like she still did very well, right? Because a lot of people were voting for their lives because they understand like how much a data center in their backyard is going to just decrease their quality of life, right? They understand that, like, she's the only person who is not bought and sold by corporations, right? So a lot of people are voting for their fucking lives here, right? But there's clearly just as many people who are voting on vibes, and the vibes were off with right there, right? The vibes were not immaculate. They were the,
Right.
and I hate that we live in that world, right? So
Yeah.
so so when you see people like, oh, the progressive movement, they want to do anything they can to discredit the progressive movement, right? But I think that we do need to look at each of these individually, right? So I think that, but I do think that we need to admit that Francesca needs here's the thing. I think that she'd be a great candidate to run again, right? I think there's like a Senate seat
Yeah.
opening up in a couple of years, right? In
Yeah.
in Wisconsin, right? I think that she should take like 2 or 3 improv classes. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I'm
Seriously.
saying? Like she should do
Go to
she needs
Chicago.
yeah, she needs to do, fucking have somebody sit her down and take her through. She needs to like drop some acid, and she needs to bomb a few open mics, and maybe she needs to get stress tested, right? I do think though that wouldn't have been a problem. That would not have been a problem. Let me just cue this up real quick, because I think that if that were the only thing, right, she would have been fine. I think she
Yeah.
still would have won. But
Oh no, I
then,
think I saw this too.
yeah, but then this type of shit became national fucking news.
I noticed you haven't yet endorsed in the Wisconsin governor's race. What's your thinking there, and might you endorse? Or
I don't think so. I met Francesca a couple of years ago.
Doesn't
I was
even know
in
her fucking
Wisconsin, and she seems very, very nice. But again, this is a race I just am not that familiar with. We have not gotten involved in many governor's races. I think we did one in Maine with Troy Jackson. Obviously, my major concern right now is seeing that we have a Senate and a House that is going to stand up to Trump. That's really where my focus is. So as of now, we have not been involved in that race.
So that's one, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
let me pull this up now. So, and we're gonna play my dog, my boy, Ken Clip. I love Ken Clip. Okay. You can never make me hate Ken Clip. All right.
Yeah, he's great.
His Graham Plattner article be damned, right? So he did this video, but this was the best version of the clip I could find. So.
AOC just said she isn't endorsing Francesca Hong for governor of Wisconsin, but the news coverage of Ocasio-Cortez's position has been very misleading. Take a look at what she actually said.
No, I haven't endorsed in that race. My focus has been in winning back the Congress. These races ultimately are local, and all politics are local.
And that's not just rhetoric. I looked up AOC's endorsements this cycle and realized she hasn't endorsed any state-level races this cycle outside of her home state of New York. So be on the lookout for media headlines like these that try to spin this as a loss or a snub of Hong. It's almost like they really don't want her to win.
And they were successful in that desire. But yeah, so those two things, like the Thanksgiving gate, I think did some damage, right? But I also think that the fact that mainstream, just kind of like the two of the party's biggest stars. I mean, like literally, like Bernie is like our fucking G, right? He's
Yeah.
like there would be no like he is the godfather of modern progressives, right?
Yeah,
And
what I
then
think they're both consistently, they've both been number one, and I think they're consistently in the top 5 most popular politicians in the country.
yeah, and AOC is currently, at least polling wise, right, the front runner in the 2028 Democratic primary, right? I mean, let's knock on wood, right? I would love to be able to vote for AOC in I'm definitely going to be able to vote for her in the primary. There's no way she's not running, right? And I would love to be able to vote for her in the general as well. That is, I mean, I don't think she's perfect, and I haven't agreed with everything she's ever said or done, right? But
Yeah.
fucking compared to whatever the opponent's going to be, either JD Vance or Tucker Carlson, or or Mecca Trump, if they build the suit for him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think like that is, I think that AOC is going to be much better. But I think that the fact that it became national news, right? Because I just in my normal feeds, right? I was seeing both of those, and I've seen speculation for why both of those people didn't endorse her, right? I think that I saw some people say that Thanksgiving Gate was that toxic, right? That which, I mean, I don't know if I agree with, right? I don't think it's. I think it's such a dumb controversy, like straight up stupid fucking controversy, stupid manufactured dumb fucking controversy that if she had a good answer for it, she could have hop, skipped, and jumped over it, right? But I think that some people were seeing it as like, oh, there's like an old style of politics, or an old style of liberalism that we just don't want to have that stink on us, right? Like
Yep.
I call it the buzzkill left.